Hello friends, you're the Lonesome Gamer, and today I want to play 1854 by Leonhard Orgler, published by Lookout Spiele, Double O Games, and well, it seems that Mayfair Games is also somehow involved here, or was. Now the game comes, I think this is the second edition. The game comes in a box that contains two games. 1844. 1844 is a game that is set in Switzerland, while 1854 is set in Austria. But unlike, for example, 61 and 67, also a double box released by Grand Trunk Games recently, these games are both really very different. 61 and 67 are more or less the same game, except obviously for the map and a few minor differences. But these are two very different games. Of course, both 18xx, but still they feel like really totally different games. Before I actually set up the game, I'm going to play a 4-player game, and I'm going to do the starting auction. I'm going to do that off camera, but we have here 4 players. They start with $650, and we have a lot of stuff to auction off. First we have these 3 small mountain railroads, that's what they're called, and these two basically give you a reduced terrain cost, kind of. That one allows you to build a tunnel cheaper, that one reduces terrain cost, but only a very... No, I think you can actually use it for every mountain. This one gives you an advantage for Graz, plus 10 in addition for every train that goes there of the company. And then we have 6 minor companies here, and we get to them later. They're really interesting in this game. And then we have 2 additional mountain railroads. And these are basically just like privates. I mean, they pay off a fixed revenue. And these 2 come with shares, but these are not presidencies. When you start companies, they start as 5-share companies. So with a 40% presidency, and then in addition 3 20% shares. And each of these companies comes with a 20% share of a given railroad. Okay, so and there's one interesting thing about the starting auction. It's a waterfall auction just like 1830, but when someone places a bid higher than yours on the same item, you are allowed to remove your bid and then place it on another item, and that gives you a lot of tactical options, but it also makes the whole thing a little, a little more complicated, and it goes even longer. So I'm not gonna do this on camera. It's especially solitaire, these auctions can be a little annoying, but yeah, I mean, they also give you an option to kind of randomize the starting positions a little bit. Okay, so let's start this. Okay, so the game is set up. The initial auction is over, and the game has a pretty huge footprint. And one of the reasons is it uses 2 maps. That is, I think it's pretty unique for an 18xx game. It's definitely one of the special features of this one. And yeah, we have two maps. We have a map of the modern area of, or the area of modern Austria. And then we have a local map. And this map is basically, it's these two hexes here on a different scale. And you can see here you have, for example, St. Pölten here, which is this large city here. And then over here there is Bad Ischl, which is this one here. So it's really interesting. And there are these minor companies here. They're called, I think they're called simply local companies. And they operate exclusively on this map here, while the major companies operate over here. Eventually, two of these pairs of these minor companies will merge into three Lokalbahnen. That's what the English rules actually say, Lokalbahnen. And these Lokalbahnen will then get their starting location in one of these two hexes, and then the Lokalbahnen will also operate on the big map. And when all the local companies are gone, the small map is removed, the tiles can be all reused, and we might have a little more space then. Although you're going to need the small map also to indicate the certificate limit, which will change during the game. Let's take a look at the result of the auctions. The first player here ended up with a small private, or kind of a medium private. 50 bucks was the value. It pays out 10 bucks a turn, and you can use it for a company to reduce the tunnel cost by 40 bucks. They are usually 100. We get to the tunnels a little later. Now, in this game, it's not possible to sell the private companies to your majors. You always keep them. I think at some point in the game, probably when the 5 comes out or whatever, they are discarded. But until then, you keep them, and they count as certificates. You can also use the locals or the mountain railroads. These are called mountain railroads. You can use them to place a tile without paying the terrain cost on their specified hex. So for example, this one here has a terrain cost of 100 bucks. And there's a lot of big terrain in Austria, as we all know. So they have to spend, they don't have to spend any money if they want to lay a tile here. And any company can do that the owner of the mountain company is the president of. They could simply lay a tile here for free, but of course they still have to be connected, and it counts as their tile action. The mountain companies do not block tile placement for other companies, like it would be in 1830, for example. Then he holds two minor or two local companies, number 1 and number 4. And these are both really strong ones, at least that's what I think. Number 1 is located here, and number 4 is here. And yeah, I think these are good companies because number 4 is pretty much in the center, and it's not forced to pay a lot of terrain cost. The same applies to number 1. There are a couple of ones that are, for example, the 6 is a little tricky they might be forced to pay quite some terrain cost here, and usually the locals don't have that much money. Also 3 is, there's this area here that's a little bit tricky with all the terrain here. Now this guy here holds companies 5 and 6. He hopes for some kind of synergy of these that could work out. I've also seen people mess up with this combination pretty badly. For example, I think when the 6 places a tile here, then they're basically out of money, and they can only run for 30 bucks, which is not a good start. So, and they can only do this for quite a while because there's no dot here. We get into this a little later, but you got to be careful with all the terrain and how it works, how the companies work together here. In addition, he has this company here, the Semmeringbahn. It costs him 190. It pays out 25 bucks, and it comes with a 20% share of the Südbahn. Now it's important to realize that this is not the presidency, and because at the start, and I think I already mentioned that, companies only come with 5 shares and a 40% presidency. So it happened a couple of times that when we played the game, and we haven't played it a while before, we thought, hey, cool, this comes with the presidency, and then we did the auction, and then we realized, oh shit, that is not true actually, and it's just a standard share, and that changes, of course, a lot. Now, this company will close when the Südbahn runs a train for the first time. So it will at least pay out twice. So he will make 50 bucks from the revenue here, and he holds the double share. However, the problem is he cannot determine the par price. So if someone else starts it really low, for 67 for example, then that would be worth 134, and then he makes twice the 25 bucks, so it's at 194. So in the end he just makes 4 bucks, but at least something, right? He doesn't lose any money, and maybe someone else is willing to start it higher, and then obviously he makes more. Now the next player here, player 3, he has a similar company, the Arlbergbahn, which sits here, and it comes with a share of the Vorarlberger Bahn, which starts operating here. And by the way, the Südbahn starts operating here. That is Vienna, and so this company might be more attractive because Vienna is the spot where you make the most money here. And that might be the explanation why it is also worth more. That one costs you 190, that one costs you 170, but it also only pays out 20 bucks. And then he has a smaller mountain railroad. Damn it. So this one here for it did come with it cost 20 bucks, the cheapest one. It can reduce the cost, the terrain cost of a mountain by 20, and it pays a revenue of 5. And of course, in addition to that, you are allowed to place a tile without paying terrain here, the Außerfernbahn. In addition, the guy holds the Kernhoferbahn number 2, which is placed here. I think that can be pretty good. St. Pölten is an interesting city, but first he somehow has to, I mean, he has the money to lay one tile here, $60, and then it's going to be interesting how he can continue, because he will not have the money immediately to place the additional or an additional tile here on this mountain terrain. So our last player, player 4, he's actually the one who holds priority right now, so he's the first player. He has the he has basically the most expensive mountain railroad that came without a share for $70. It pays 15, and by the way, this one here, the one that pays 20, will also close when the Vorarlberger Bahn runs a train for the first time. This one, though, will not close, at least not. Yeah, I'm not sure when that happens, when all other companies also close. So it pays out quite a while, $15, which isn't bad. And his companies can, when they run to Graz, which is here, they get an additional $10. And the Graz-Köflacher Bahn, which operates here, he can place a tile here without paying the money. And then he holds the Ybbstaler Bahn. That is company number 3, located down here. Not so sure how good that is. It might be interesting if it can connect with other companies. Here, if it goes in this direction, it has to pay terrain, which is not that great. If it goes in this direction, there are not so many interesting locations, but if it can connect to others, I think it has a good position, because it is kind of in the center a little bit. It's hard to say how good that one is, but we'll find out, I guess. Okay, so that's the end of the auction. And now we go into the first stock round. Players need 50% of a company to float it. It's a full capitalization. I already mentioned that the companies have, when they get started, they come only with 5 shares, so there are only 20% shares, and of course the 40% presidency. Now, it might seem a little odd that companies cannot float at 50% when there are only 20% shares, so you basically always have to pay, you always have to buy at least 60% to float it. Hey, that's not true in this game. That's also an interesting aspect. There is a rule that you can buy options, and for this we need these small markers here. So there should be 2 of every number, for example here number 4. So every player has 2 of these option markers. Now this guy, let's place it here so that we don't lose it. And so what the player can do is he can buy, well, first of all, players have to buy the 40% presidency. Like in any 18xx game, you always have to buy the presidency first. But then let's assume that one would have been gone. He has now the option to buy an option on 10% of the company and only pay the other 10% of this share. So basically he can buy the 20% share but only pay 10%. And that means that he will only receive the 10% share, so he only takes this half. He places a marker here and he places the other marker on the value of the share that he had to pay. For example, I don't know, here. And then then he's not allowed to do any other actions during his stock round. So that if you do that, that basically ends your stock round. Except if you sell it again. As soon as you sell this thing for the actual value, then you have again all possibilities. But as long as you hold that, you then in the next stock round, or you have the option to buy the remaining 10% for the marked value. So even if this company would have operated now, I don't know, twice or something, or 3 times, and it's in a higher value now, you can still buy the other 10% for the $72, and then these are removed and you simply flip the share and now you hold 20%. So that's how you can start a company, by only buying 50% or paying for 50%. So you probably already noticed this market, which looks definitely different than other markets that we know, because these are hexes. These are no squares, these are no columns, these are hexes. So it's a 3-dimensional stock market. And we can see here, so if you pay out, you simply move right. If you swallow, it goes left, so no surprise here. If you sell a share, for every certificate, it moves down to the left by 1 space. So if you sell a 20% certificate, it also only moves down by 1 space. And when all shares are held by players at the end of the stock round, it goes up to the right by 1 space. So this is all pretty standard. But if a company buys a train from another company, then the share value moves up to the left by 1 space. And if it sells a train to another company, then the share value moves down to the right by 1 space. So basically, the share values of 2 companies will change when they trade trains. That's a weird one. And it might be possible to play around with this a little bit, but it's I don't know. I haven't really explored the options that this rule might give you. These here are your par values. We also see them down here. This here is the area that we know as the yellow area from 1830. So the companies with a share value which is in here, they do not count against the certificate limit. An interesting thing is this red line here. So as soon as a company crosses that red line, there's going to be a share split, which means basically the company goes from a 5-share company to a 10-share company. So all the shares that the players hold are flipped. So the 40% presidencies simply become now 20% presidencies, and the 20% shares become 10% shares. And the players will actually get paid out for the loss that they take. So you get, I don't know, if you hold a 10% share, or if you hold a 20% share, and the company goes from 91 to 95, you flip your share and you're gonna get $95 for that share. And if you hold a presidency, you would even get $190 for the presidency, because technically you lose 2 10% shares. Then there is an additional package of shares. They are here. There is nothing printed on the other side or on this side, but here these are the 10% shares, and every company has now 5 additional shares with a 10%, and these shares go into the split shares pool. They are simply placed here, and now this becomes kind of an incremental capitalization. If players buy a share from here, then and that is always traded for the value shown here on the market, then the money goes in the treasury of the company. So a lot of money can go into companies. First you have that full capitalization here, and then basically another 50% of the shares are sold, and they are always sold for a relatively high price. Not always. I mean, it is technically, of course, possible that the shares fall back behind that, or that the value falls back again behind that red line, but that doesn't reverse the process. By the way, the market always shows a 10% value of the shares of the major companies. It's a little different with the Lokalbahnen, but we get to this when the Lokalbahn will develop. If you have a 20% share, it's worth twice that value here. And this might be a little confusing, because when you sell the certificate, it only drops by 1 space. So in this, yeah, it's a little odd, but okay. Here at the very end, when a company reaches this value, then at the end of the operating round, the game will end. Now, the rules are sometimes pretty poorly written, especially the English rulebook. It seems the German rulebook is a little more accurate. We have a whole number of errata and clarifications that you can download on BGG. For example, there is no mention of this end of the game here in the rulebook. It's simply written here on the board, and there are many things that are pretty vague in the rules. So they had to come up with this clarifications there, but that's fine. So let's take a little bit a closer look at the map. Now, as I already said, it shows modern Austria, and well, not too many surprises. We got Vienna here, which is the city where the money will be at the end. It goes up to 70. This is not a very rich game, so this is the highest value location, except for Paris back here, 90, and Constantinople, which is also 70. Now, there is a special train, the Orient Express, at the very end of the game that can enter these 2 off-board locations, and all the other trains are not allowed to go there. Apart from that, I already mentioned that we have a lot of terrain here. We have these gray hexes here. It's not possible to lay any tiles there. what you can do is you can build tunnels, and basically there are two shapes of tunnels. There is a straight one and this gentle curve here, and a company can, during the tile placement, they can place in addition one tunnel. That's basically simply works like additional track, so you have to be connected to a station and all. And you can place a tunnel everywhere on the board, even on other tiles, on already existing tiles, but not on cities. That's not possible. And in these areas here, in the gray areas, you cannot place tiles but only tunnels. And a tunnel is where you have to pay $100 to place a tunnel. So it's pretty expensive, but it can be cool, and it might give you this one extra tile placement that you need to reach a city or so, and to place a dot there before someone else can do that. And well, apart from that, what else is special here? Well, again, this is one of the few games where my hometown is shown, and I always have to mention that it's Augsburg, and it is actually in Germany, so it's an off-board area, and it's really shitty in yellow. It gives you no money at all, and it's not good at all. So let's take a look at the companies. We have 8 companies, 8 major companies. We have this Vorarlberger here, where already a 20% share is sold, so it is quite likely that it will be started at the beginning of the game. So that operates here, and yeah, it has access to this, to Zürich, which is a pretty good off-board area. We have Innsbruck here, with the Nordtiroler Staatsbahn. Then we have here Salzburg with the Salzburger Bahn, and it also has access to München, Munich, which is not that bad. If you go, by the way, if you take this route here, you're going to have to pay taxes because you got to go through Germany. So you got a minus 10 modifier here. We got Klagenfurt. That's where the Kärntner Bahn starts. Not far from Venice, which is also a good off-board area. Linz for the Kronprinz Rudolf Bahn, and then here 3 railroads in Wien: the Kaiser Franz Josef Bahn, the Kaiserin Elisabeth Bahn, and the Südbahn. And that one probably gets started also at the beginning of the game. Back here we have also a couple of good off-board areas, specifically Budapest, which goes up to 60. I think that is the best off-board area apart. Oh, and down here, the Brenner. So, this guy has priority, and he can start a company. He's got a lot of money. He holds $425. So we already said that 67. That's the 67 is the lowest par value. 50% is what you need to start a company. So I don't know, if you got $335, that's enough in this game to kick things off. Now he owns this Graz Köflacher Bahn with the bonus for Graz. So he is definitely interested in building here. So basically he's got 2 choices. He can either start the Südbahn here, or he can start the the Kärntner Bahn down there. Now I'm pretty sure that starting the Südbahn is actually a better idea, because being in Vienna is definitely good. So I'm going to roll a die on a 1 to 5. I'm going to go with the Südbahn, otherwise I'm going to start the Kärntner. Okay, that's a 3. So we're going to start the Südbahn. And now the question is the value. Now technically I only need to buy 40%. Only the presidency, that would be enough to float it, because 20% are already held by this guy over here. The thing is, if I started very high, then this guy will also profit from that. I mean, the good thing is I have a lot of money in my company. The bad thing is he will have an advantage. But that advantage will probably not that big. I mean, it will be probably not that big, because it's just, in the end, it's just a couple of bucks. But that might be valuable at the start of the game anyway. So already an interesting decision to make here. But I have enough money, so I might, I don't know. Gotta think about that. Okay, so I think I want to start it at 72. That will allow me to buy now 50%. So I can buy an option. And then in the next stock round, I will have 15 additional bucks because of this minor company. And then I'm going to have the money to buy my 6th share, or my 3rd share, if to buy a complete share basically. So then I would have 60% of the company, and I think I want that. Yeah, so I think that's a good idea. Having more shares at the start, I think usually it's a better idea to start a company low at the beginning, because it simply gives you a lot of shares, and that's what you want. Of course, you could kind of speculate for this early split share thing, and then hope to get a lot of money into your company, but I don't know, you don't really need that much money early in the game. So I think it's fine if you start a little lower. So this guy here, these sheets for the miners, they are ridiculously big. I mean, half of it would really be good enough, but okay. Now this guy, he had the money to buy the presidency of the Vorarlberger, and yeah, kind of started. But the problem is then he has more money. He had about 290 or something, and he has more, but he already holds 20%. So then he could simply steal the presidency from him, and yeah, he didn't really want to do that, so he thought about doing it, but then he decided to buy a share, also 20% share of the Südbahn, and then he might still consider buying another 20% of the Vorarlberger once it started. But I think that the Südbahn is probably a more profitable company than the Vorarlberger. It depends how many trains. The Vorarlberger can run, I think up to, also only 2 trains, I guess, at the beginning. It's gonna be, they cannot place a second token there, so I think they can only run 2 trains, while these guys, yeah, I think they can make better money. They probably will also only run 2 trains, but these might be more profitable. We'll see. So this guy starts the Vorarlberger Bahn now for 77 right here, so a little higher than the other one. I'm interested in starting it higher because I already own the 20%. And that will cost me 308, so I have only $2 left. But that's not a bad thing, I guess. So the cool thing when you have only 5 share companies is that not every player has to buy, I don't know, kind of like 5 or 6 certificates. So you don't go that often around the table. You just buy 1 or 2 and then the company floats. That's pretty cool. This guy down here, he couldn't afford the next 20% of the Südbahn. He needed twice 72, and he only has 72, and now there are only 65 remaining. So I could afford the option now, and yeah, I bought 10% and marked that with a 4 here, and this one is marked here too. So I can now buy next turn, when I made the $15 from this company here, I can afford to buy the option here for another 72. But I'm not allowed to do anything else until I get rid of this option. Okay, now let's see this guy here. Now there's nothing else to the Südbahn is now basically sold out. And this is kind of an interesting thing. I'm not sure about that. I think that this thing goes up, even though not exactly 100% of the shares are held by players, but only 90. But this is something I have to check. So there's only the Vorarlberger left to buy. So I guess I will buy an option of these because I also don't have the money for the company. And that means that he was hesitant to buy a share of that. So he now has a lot of money left, but there's nothing left to buy for him. So that was a stupid... Oh, maybe another Vorarlberger might be... Oh yeah, there is one more share left. So first he buys the option of the Vorarlberger, and I'm pretty sure that he can afford the maybe he can actually afford it. Let's see. It's 77. So that would be 154 if I'm not mistaken. No, he can't afford it, but this guy probably can. Okay, so we're at the end of the first stock round here. There is simply nothing left to buy. 50, 60, no. There's nothing left to buy. The shares of there are only 10 shares now at the beginning, and so basically only 8 certificates are available. 2 of them were only purchased with the privates. So yeah, it's all a little restricted. This guy would have had the option. He had the money to start a company completely on his own, but he wanted the Südbahn. Now he might kind of regret that a little bit, but I think it's okay. He wanted the Südbahn. If he would have started something else, then probably a third company could have been started. But in this case, the only person who had the money to start a company completely on its own, he also decided to invest in a company where 20% were already sold. So we end up with only 2 companies operating in the first operating round, except of course for all the miners. Okay, so now we go into the first operating round, and that's a cute little token here, the cow here. So we go into the first operating round, and the local companies start operating on this map over here. And they all have 2 tokens. So the first one is now placed here. And they basically operate like majors. They can lay a tile, they can upgrade tiles and all. There's one exception. They are only allowed to run the plus trains. So here the 2 plus. This is the 1 plus train. Now they could in theory buy the other trains too, but it might be an interesting. Now, at the moment it's not interesting because the companies are not allowed to trade trains between each other yet. They can do it with the start of phase 3. So when the first 3 train is purchased. And then this might be an interesting option to transfer money between majors and minors. But right now, we're going to buy probably only these. Now, it's a 1 plus train. That means the train can... the big number is the maximum number of cities a train can run to. And then it can run an unlimited number of dots. But it still needs at least 2 locations to run a train. So it's a little bit different than, for example, the 1 plus train that we know, or the local trains that we might know from 1822. So here we need definitely 2 locations. So that means we're going to have to place a tile here for $50. And we're going to take one of these. These are specific tiles for this game here, the double doinkers. So let's see what we need. We have the 4. We have company 1 and 4, so I'm not sure. Maybe I want to make a connection, maybe not. I mean, I don't necessarily want to go too soon into another city because I want as many doinkers as possible. So I'm not sure what to do. Okay, so I think my plan is to go down here, and these guys here, they might cross the river here. And then maybe I can make a connection like this between the 2. I would have 2 dots here, which is not a bad start. And eventually, St. Pölten, there will be an option to go like this, I think. This will become a bigger city. And a bigger green city. And then I could go out here and maybe go this way or something. We'll see. So... well, I don't have a train. I have no share value. The locals don't have a share value. So now I have the option to buy a train. And yeah, I guess I'm going to simply buy the 80 train. And or the train for $80 here. The 1 plus. Okay, that's... and now it's company number 2, located right here. So let's place the token. The other token goes on the sheet. There we go. And we're going to have to pay $60. And I'm also going to buy that train. So it's 140. So I only have $10 left. And then I get a train and I can lay a tile. Of course I can. Let's see where I want to go. I have no other company. So, you know, I think I'm going to place a tile like this, because this only costs 50 bucks. This costs 70 bucks. And there is no dot here. So I don't think it's terribly interesting to go down there. So therefore, my goal is, I think, to go here. And it's also going to take me a while until I can somehow try to connect to here or something. Okay, next company. Number 3, located down here. Now for them it's an interesting decision. I think they want to go north. The idea is that, you know, if these guys want to make a connection here, that's what is possible, that's what they could see, then maybe they can kind of interrupt here. If they go like this, then make a connection here, they could run also for 30 bucks, which isn't bad. So I guess I want to go north. I mean, I could go here like this. They take the 10 bucks here, the 10 bucks here, the 10 bucks here. But I don't think I want to do that. I think I want to move more toward the center here. So I'm going to roll a die. I mean, I could also move up here, but that's, I don't know. I think I can still do that later. I'm pretty sure I want to go toward the center. I think everything else is not a very clever idea here. Okay, so, and then we also have to buy a train, of course. That's company number 3. I'm also on my own, by the way. No other company to work with. There we go. And there's basically one train for every company available. Now the 2 trains may only be purchased when a major company has purchased the first 3 trains. So the train rust is not determined by the small trains, but only by the big ones. Okay, so we come to company number 4. So the 4 is already not in the best shape now because we're operating after the 3, this connection to these guys is pretty much gone. Probably won't work out. I could try a connection over Amstetten, but I'm not sure how interesting that is. There is no way to upgrade the single dots. It's possible to upgrade double dots into green cities in this game. That is an option, but you cannot upgrade single dots. So if this guy places a dot like this, I'm cut off here. And that is probably going to happen. So maybe I am actually more interested to go to Amstetten and then maybe make a connection here. It's not great though. So let's see, I think well, maybe I can talk to this guy that he doesn't cut me off, but nah, I don't know. It's a tough choice here. I think the 4 might be in problem. So I'm going to place this thing here. The thing is, if things are really getting bad, I cannot even run a train because to go here I need a 2 train, and if this guy places the tile in a nasty way, there will be no way for me to run a train. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay this token here. So if things go really badly, I still have my second token, so I can lay a tile here, place a token there, and then I can at least run from Amstetten to St. Pölten. It's not great, but or not from Amstetten to this small city here, which is doesn't even have a name. But I make a couple of bucks. Yeah, so that's the funny thing about this small map. And of course, especially if you play with more players, there's a lot of competition right at the start. And that is something that you don't have usually on bigger maps. So that's why this local map is so cool, because, you know, yeah, right from the start, the tile placement really becomes a big issue here. So the 5 now. Let's find the other marker. There it is. Okay, and oh, the 4 still has to buy a train. Well, technically for the 4, it's not mandatory at that moment to buy a train because they don't have a route. Same here for the 3, but I guess they want one anyway. So there we go. And then the 5 can now lay that tile here. And that is a very, very interesting decision now, which way they want to go. Now, on the one hand, it might be cool for them to cut off these guys. But they also want to give the 6 maybe an option to do something here. So, because they kind of work together. So I don't know, something like this could be interesting. That opens up the way for the 6 to this dot here. That's definitely an option. And then we can go down here and maybe eventually try to place a tile here. So then the 6 and the 5 can profit from that. But we're kind of cut off from the rest of the map. So it's a tricky decision here. Here's my plan. I think the idea is I want to go down like this, trying to make a connection like this. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4 dots and the home city. So that could be interesting. And these guys maybe have the option to go out here eventually, kind of place a token here. It's not going to be easy to do, but maybe they can do it at some point. And so we'll see, something like that I can imagine. Okay, and I also need, of course, a train. $20 or $80. There we go. And now the last company, the Salzkammergutbahn. Yeah, so the idea is to probably place a tile here. Kind of like this, and then try to make that hook like this here. So, but that did cost me $60 and another 80 for the train, so that is already 140. So it's gonna take a while until I can afford the tile here, but you know, maybe I can shuffle trains, and then maybe it's possible a little sooner. Okay, so every company now has a 1+ train, and I need the markers here. And also for the 3. There we go. Yeah. Where is it? Down there. Okay. And in the next turn they can then run. So now we start with the majors, and I forgot to pay out the mountain railroads. That's important. They actually do this at the start of the operating round like in other games too. So this gives $10 for him, 25 over there, 25 over here, and 15 for this last guy here. Okay, so now let's do the 2 major companies. Okay, so the Vorarlberger Barn starts, and basically we got basically 2 options. We could try to come up with something like this, and then in the next turn we could run 2 trains, but one only for this double dot here, so it wouldn't be that much. That would be kind of like 40 and 70 here. Eventually we can upgrade this to a green city, and then it's not that bad anymore. So that is an option. The other option would be to come up with something like this, and so that means we could only run for 40 in the next turn, but we could lay then this here, and I can lay this without terrain cost because I got the company here, and so that would be an option. And then I could, for example, build a tunnel here for $100. That's a little problematic. But then in the turn after that, I could lay a tile here and again a tunnel. And then I would have already a pretty neat connection to Brenner, which is pretty rich. Innsbruck isn't bad. So, you know, I would have a little more options in the long run. Right now I'm basically just sitting here in the corner, but that might be enough for now. So it's not that easy. I think I'm simply going to roll a die here, and so I might actually say, you know, this guy, he is also not a very aggressive player, and I have my random personalities, you know that. So he's not a very aggressive player. He's also not very conservative. He's right in the middle. So I think I'm going to roll on a 1 to 3. He's going to go for this easy early money, and otherwise he might try to do some later stuff here. But I don't know, I mean, he owns 60% of it. That's a tough choice. I might as well say, wait a minute, I somehow messed this up. I gave him the Südbahn. It shouldn't be like that. These should be different. Okay. You know, I think I'm actually going to say a 1 to 4. He's going to go with the quick money here. Okay, so that's a 1. So that is probably what you can expect usually. So he's going to place simply a tile like this and place the starting dot there. And I guess I'm going to go with 2 trains for $200. So nothing too exciting here, but I hold 60%, so yeah, I think it makes sense to do it. But the other thing would also be a little more long-term it would have been an interesting long-term strategy, I guess. But I mean, we can still do it. It just takes us a little longer to break out into this area. Okay, and this is it, of course. Value drops down. And now it's the Südbahn. And they're sitting here in Wien. So they're also going to need a double dot. So laying a tile here costs me 120. Building here only 70. I definitely want to go to Graz because I got the company which gives me a +10 on Graz. So this is my goal for my destiny for now, my destination. So I want something which helps me there. Let's see, I could take this for example. That would be an option. I could also go with that. Hard to tell which one is better. And then we got this one here. I really don't know. I have no idea. I mean, they are all upgradable into a city. So, maybe I want to do this for now. And then, what does that cost me something? Yeah, 50 bucks. Okay. Might consider building a tunnel through here for 100, and then next turn I am already in Graz and I could run 2 trains then. That might be interesting. So let's see. Where are we? Down here. Yeah, I think I actually want to do that. So I'm going to pay 100 bucks. And gonna buy me a tunnel here. I could have saved 70 bucks by simply placing a tile here, but when I do that, it takes me one more turn to get to Graz, and I kind of want to save that turn, so I'm gonna spend the 30 extra bucks and simply lay a tunnel here. So that is the tunnel marker, and then next turn I can go to Graz. Now it is still possible to lay a yellow tile here, but the exits and endings of the tile, they cannot fall together with the exits and endings of the tunnel. So it would be, for example, totally okay to place a tile later if it is connected somehow like this, and then the tunnel simply would be placed on top, and that is totally fine, but you could not, for example, place a tile like that or something. That wouldn't work. So actually I forgot, at the end of the last turn, these markers should have gone up, and if there are these option markers on some of these certificates, that is fine. That counts as if they are completely sold out. So they should be there now. Okay, great. I also purchased 2 trains, and that's it. That's the end of the operating round, so we go into the next stock round. So there's nothing he can do. He is priority, but he doesn't have any money left. But I can now buy my option here. So I check where this marker is. It's at 4, so that means for 72 bucks, that's 60, 75. Okay, so I get back 3. And now I simply remove this. And I also remove this. And now I'm allowed to flip the share. And now I hold 60% of the company. And he does a similar thing here. He needs 77 bucks. 60, 70. Okay, great. So he can do that. And then remove this. And, well, should have been the other way around. But he's okay. He now also has paid for his option. Okay. And finally him. Well, there's also nothing he could do. So that means he gets now the new priority marker. And we're good. That's the end of the stock round. As usual, there's not a lot happening in the second stock round. So we go into the next operating round. It's company number 1 now. And they realize now, shit, we cannot make that connection with 4. I mean, they realized that before because he's going to hook up here. So that didn't work out that well. If I make a connection like this, I mean, we cannot go from St. Pölten to St. Pölten, but we can at least take 3 dots that way. So maybe that makes the most sense for now. I hope that the other guy doesn't cut me off, but I don't think it's in his interest, and I don't actually even think he has the money. So I'm going to do it like this, trying to lay a tile here, and then we'll see what happens later. It's not a good position. It's weird. Usually, in my experience, all this works out a little better and the players work together a little more. But maybe the way the companies fell, it turns out to be kind of like a hey, I block you and you block me thing, and now everybody's kind of losing here. But I will see. Especially for the 4 and the 3, it's now not a great situation. So he plays this tile, and so that is player 1, or company 1, and now they can run the train, and it goes basically for 30 bucks, so 15 bucks go into the company, and 15 bucks go to the player. Okay, and then we see company number 2. Now, do they have money? They only have 10 bucks, so there's no way for them to lay this tile here. So, yeah, I guess they do nothing, and they also run simply for 30 bucks. So again, 15 bucks to the company, 15 bucks to the player. So like your standard minor companies, the company keeps half of the revenue and the others, the player gets the other half. That is how minors usually work. Okay, so then it's company number 3, and yeah, they were hoping for something else. Now, the idea could be maybe they can make a connection to here. But that's also going to be pretty... So, like, you know, if they place something like this and then make a connection here, they would have 1, 2, 3, 4 dots. That wouldn't be so bad. But maybe the others are first here. This is all a little bit tricky again. Question is, who will be the first to lay this tile here? The other option would be to go this way, and maybe eventually this way. It's a little cheaper, that would allow us to make a little more money. Now, I think I'm going to spend the 60 for this tile here. And at least there I get 2 dots. If I lay a tile here, I only get 1. And I have no clue how it goes on. So I think I'm going to do it like this. So in this way I also run for 30. So again, everybody kind of makes 15 bucks. Now at that point, it's really pretty ridiculous and we don't make a lot of money. I've seen pretty good runs on this map a little bit later in the game, but it takes a while until these local companies take off some steam here. It really takes a bit. So we'll see. And as I said, in this configuration, it doesn't really look like we can get good routes going on here, but who knows. So we come to company number 4. Oh boy, that is really pretty ridiculous. So if we want to run at all, what we got to do is we got to basically place a tile here, and then we have to place a token there, because otherwise we cannot run. So the token costs me 40 bucks. That is really, really bad. I wonder if there's anything I can do. If I lay it, I could try to lay a tile like this and then build down here or something. But then I couldn't run either. So yeah, that doesn't work. So this company is in a very bad shape. So they also run for 30, right? It's not terrible, but it's, I was really hoping for more. I thought they had some good synergy, but it didn't work out at all. So that's company number 3 for this guy. No, that was 4 for this guy. And 15 bucks going here. Fine. So, and then it's company number 5. Let's see. So if he invests now here, it's not a lot. He only runs for 20, which is really, really bad. But if we can run the 80, if we can place the 80 bucks here, that would be so great. So let's see. I'm gonna try that. I'm gonna place this thing here for 60. That's expensive. But so the idea is to make a connection here, and maybe, you know, if I shuffle the trains, but I don't know, getting 80 bucks in there, that's really tough. But you know, maybe if I shuffle the trains once, maybe in the end it could be worth it. Just to get the money in one company and then buy back the train. We lose a couple of bucks that way, but if we manage to lay that tile here, we're doing pretty good. That would be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks. That's not so bad. So we'll see. Okay. So for now, we are only running for 20. It's just 10 and 10. That is really bad. And then we see company number 6. Yeah, and they don't have the money to lay anything. So they go for, well, they go for 40 though. That's more than the others do. So at least that's 20-20. Now they already hold $30 and these guys hold 20, so they are already at 50. So I guess at the next turn, together they have $80. So as soon as they are allowed to trade trains, they might try that, and then they can start to kind of come up with a connection here. And that helps them both then. Well, we'll see. Okay, so now we go back to the major companies. So it's the VB, and we decided. Let me see. I hope I didn't mess this up. Oh shit. Oh God, I might have messed it up. Yeah, great. There is no way I can do it. Well, at least I can. Yeah, it's okay. I can go. I wanted a connection like this, but that doesn't work. So we got to go to Vaduz. But I guess that's okay too. So we're going to do something like this. And then we got 2 trains. So we run for 40 and 30. So that's 70. Of course, we're going to pay that out. And now basically every share pays out $14. So there we go, another $14 here. I'm gonna do that off camera. Okay, so now we have the Südbahn, and they can now lay a city tile in Graz. Now let's see, we got a +10 marker here. There we go. So we can place this thing here, and the other one goes here. So, and then we're going to place a token in Graz, I guess, for $40. There we go. And now we can run 2 trains. This one goes for 50 and the other one goes for 40. So we make $90. That's a little better than this, isn't it? Yeah. So okay, why not? It's not so bad. $90. And of course we pay that out. Okay, so end of the second OR, and this guy is sitting on, well, about 74. Here we have a little more, about 118. This guy is sitting on 109. And here we have, well, that's 92, I guess. But he is only holding, well, 4 shares or overall 40%. These 2 guys are holding 60%. This guy is holding 40% too. Okay, they got one more local. Now these 2 companies, the 2 mountain companies that came with a share, they are now closed because the trains now have run for the first time. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, players who are now interested to open up some new companies, especially the one that have a little bit of money left. So question is, can they do it? And maybe, I don't know, if he sells these 2 shares, yeah, he can. He could now open up a new company because these are 40%. If he gets rid of them, he definitely has the money to buy a presidency and then another 10%. And that is enough. So he has priority. So he might now consider what kind of company he wants to start next. A really good starting company is also Salzburg. You can start right here and lay a tile here and a tunnel, and then in your next turn you build another tunnel, and then you have a connection between Brenner and München. These are two valuable areas, so that's pretty good. That's clearly an option. Are there other interesting choices? Wien is never a bad thing. But, well, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. So, I think that's time to load this up. Yeah, hope to see you on the next video or on lonesomegamer.com. Bye.